Hi, friends, and welcome to Jamuary. That's right, we're going to be making jam every Tuesday for the month of January. And today we're making peach, bourbon, and thyme low sugar jam. You are going to love this one. You're going to need frozen peaches that are thawed, a bottle of lemon juice, a bottle of bourbon, sugar, thyme, and pectin. Now, first of all, you're going to empty your thawed peaches into a bowl. And I found that using an immersion blender here worked better than kind of started with a tomato masher, and that just wasn't giving the right consistency. So you can do this in a blender, you can do this in a food processor, depending on how chunky you would like to keep your jam. I kind of like jam with a little chunk to it. So we went through, this took a few minutes to get this all processed, but I'll tell you, this is about the most time consuming part of this entire recipe. The beauty of using frozen peaches here, they are already skinned and already pitted. Huge time saver. Now we're going to put 4 cups of this mixture of the peaches into a heavy bottomed pan. And I don't think I said this earlier, but the recipe in full, there's a link to the recipe because this is not my recipe. This is actually coming from Pomona's pectin, but I'll put a link there so that you can get the full written recipe. So we were going to start here with just 4 cups of our processed peaches to whatever level you would like your peaches. Again, I do like a little chunk in there. We're going to add the bourbon. Yummy. And then we're going to add some lemon juice. And like most things that are canned, you do need to use bottled lemon juice just to keep it consistent. It has to be a certain acidity to make everybody happy. Now we are using Pomona's Universal Pectin here, which is a pectin that is activated by calcium, not by the sugar content. So this is a packet, they give you a packet of calcium powder that you make into a little liquid with just some plain water. We're going to be adding about 4 tablespoons of this to our jam, and that's going to allow us to get a nice set on our jam without using a lot of sugar, which I think is just kind of genius. So we're going to get these last ingredients here into our jam, and then we're going to start getting it warm so that we can add the actual pectin and sugar to it. Now I didn't have fresh thyme, so instead of adding what I needed to add, I just added a dash of dry thyme because, as I'm sure you know, dried herbs tend to be a bit stronger than fresh ones. This did add just a lovely back note to this jam. So now we're just going to stir it up a little bit and start warming it up. We want to bring it to boiling, but not rolling boil. So you just want to hear those. It'll start making those pop, 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 pop noises when it looks like it's getting ready to turn to a boil. And pectin is needed, or heat is needed to activate the pectin. And that's what's going to give us a nice jam consistency. So here we're putting together the pectin and the sugar. And it's only 1 cup of sugar, which I don't know that I've seen a regular jam recipe that only asks for 1 cup of jam. You know, that's one of the reasons I probably haven't eaten much jam over the last years, is because I think all of us, or many of us, are trying to watch our sugar intake because there doesn't seem to be a whole lot good said about it. So the pectin and the sugar get mixed together and then they get slowly added to the pot of boiling jam. So as you can see, the jam is starting to pop a little bit, and that's all we're looking for. Again, not a rolling boil, just a boil that you can stir out. Oh, it smells so good. I wish you could smell this. And the bourbon, by the way, at this point will have cooked out as well. So you get the flavor of the bourbon, but not the alcohol content. So we just kind of sprinkle this in, stir it in somewhat briskly, because you don't want lumps. That's the whole reason that you do it in smaller amounts, is to make sure you don't have any lumps of pectin and your end product is beautiful and smooth. Another tip is if you are having any problems getting your jam maybe as smooth as you would like, once things are heated, they will chunk down much easier. Like you could run the immersion blender again now, and you would get a much smoother texture. So if you're fighting that at all, this would be a good end result. So here we are now with all of our pectin and sugar and all of our ingredients put together. We're going to start filling our jars. And this recipe, as I did it, gave us 5 half pints. Weren't sure on the last one, so we ended up filling up 2 quarter pints because I just didn't think we were going to have enough to fill a full one. But this will give you, and again, depending on how juicy your peaches are, depending on a whole lot of things, you might end up with more, you might end up with less. But again, we got a full 5 ounces in a little bowl that my husband could gobble down quickly because he's a lover of peach jam. So we'll fill a couple of these here on the video. You don't need to see us fill up all of them. But look how beautiful. The color of this is quite incredible. It's really beautiful. And you can see the flecks of thyme. And you get just a hint of the bourbon flavor in the back. It's very delicate bourbon flavor. It's not strong at all. But oh, doesn't that just look great? Now, while we've been filling these or heating up the jam to a hot enough temperature, we've also been heating up our canner. Put the water in there and have been having that heat up while we're doing this, because you always want to put a hot jar or hot liquid into a hot jar. So these jars had been warmed. Then a hot jar into hot water. So you need to have the temperature of both pretty close. And if you don't, that's when you get some cracked jars and some unfortunate ends to your jam making. And here we're just, as with most canning projects, just checking for bubbles, air bubbles. This was liquidy enough. We didn't find that we had many. And now we just clean the rims with some paper towel and just plain white vinegar. And that makes sure that your seal is going to be tight. And it also lets you kind of check and see if there's any dents or chips in the edges of the jars. And now we'll just put the top on, and then you just want to finger tight the ring that goes around it, because as you know, part of canning is to heat up the contents so that it expels air so that a vacuum seal is formed. So these all did great. Now we're going to load them in the canner. Now we're using my pressure canner here because it just happened to be upstairs and available, but we're not pressurizing it. We're using it as a water bath canner. So those can do double duty. Any pressure canner can also be used as a water bath. So it's kind of a handy 2-in-1. So these are going to need to process for just 10 minutes. And when they are done, which really it's kind of a hands-free, obviously, you don't do anything but set a timer for 10 minutes, and here is our result. 5 beautiful, gosh, these were so good. I think the 2 little ones in the front are already gone. So hey, thanks for watching. See you next week for another Jamuary jam recipe. You all take care. Oh, and Happy New Year. Take care now. Bye-bye.